You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 357 Magnum Edition. Welcome everyone to the show, and today we've got some great stuff. It of course is the 1st of May, 2024, and we've got a ton of news as regular. But first, let's introduce our co-hosts as per usual. We have Mr. Casey Green joining us from Mid-Atlantic States. How are you today, sir?
Sleepy.
Tired, right?
Yes, I had an adventure, and we'll talk about that later. But
Excellent. Also joining us, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. It's May 1st, which means we have switched over to the new time of use hours. So right now it's peak time, which means this is all being powered on my end, either by solar or batteries. Nothing from the grid this entire hour, guaranteed.
That is the way to do it, if you can, for sure. So robbing the utility from its maximum charging.
Helping them out when they're under highest load by not being a burden. That's the way I look at it.
I like robbing them. I'm robbing them blind. That's a much better way of putting it.
I've got 3% more before my reserve.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, we have electricity, that's for sure. It's nice.
Exactly. And just can tell by your picture, you got some sun happening today. So.
Yes, we do. Yeah, in fact, I was going to say battery powered, and then I looked, and we're feeding the grid from solar, so I couldn't say battery powered. But if a cloud passes by, I'll be on battery. And it is spring, so the clouds come and go here like crazy. It rains a little, and yeah. If Tesla wants rain data, they just got a lot of it, because I was doing a road trip and there was spray and like a semi truck passed me and it blinded all the cameras and it freaked out, and they're getting a lot of great data on how to operate in the rain. And taking so I mean I had FSD on, but I'm always at the ready to take over, and there were a couple times in this drive at night in the rain where it needed me to take over.
Interesting.
The annoying thing would be it would just slow down sometimes. It's like, okay, we have to do at least the speed limit. I guess I'll drive for a bit.
So I had it where it slowed down to 50 a couple times because what did it say? This was in I had to take it off of FSD so that I could have cruise control, and then because some genius decided that we only need an FSD single pull, which also cancels cruise control. So
yeah, that is kind of annoying.
Super annoying. So I took it out of out of FSD so I could use cruise control, and then cruise control slowed down to 50 because the wipers were already at max and there was enough spray and splash. It's like, slowing for visibility.
So for those that don't know, how do you engage cruise control instead of FSD when you're driving?
You turn off FSD.
So you have to go into the menu and you have to turn off FSD.
Yep, you can go back to auto steer, or you can turn it all off to the point where it's like your car, and then it'll behave like it should. Yours has TAC, right?
Mine's got nothing.
I mean, yours has got the cruise control smart. It doesn't just run into people if you forget.
It would run into people if I forgot.
Yeah, there are cars out there without it, and I didn't believe it.
Wow.
One of my coworkers bought a car without it, and I'm like, no, they all have at least that, and he's like, no, I don't, and he let me test drive it, and I go up towards the car in front of it. He's like, no, I really don't have it. I don't. And he was right. It didn't. It would have let me get it. I didn't. But
I thought they all had it since AP1. I can totally see them pulling that off, but did not think they would pull it off.
Had it.
So Patrick decided to test it out to the point where he slammed it in the back of another car to prove to himself that is not happening.
And that's the last.
No, because even if you have it on minimum, it's got a certain threshold.
But of course, it wasn't his car, so it really doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
That makes it worse. So I take that back. So you'll get to a stage between Mark's car and what is now available for free. You can go all the way to just auto steer or to traffic aware cruise control, and then you can use it. But then to get back to FSD, if you weren't in manual for reasons that I was, to get back into FSD, you'll need to put it in park, go back into the menu, and reselect FSD.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't going through all that on the drive. I would just take over for a while, and eventually, it would. I'd get the circle back, and I could try it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whoever decided that for us, that this is what we wanted, after giving us the option and seeing how few of us selected it. Oh, you guys don't want it? Try it anyway. No, I tried it and turned it off because it sucks.
This was a government mandate that they had to change it to single pull because they said they wanted to simplify the engagement.
The government requested that, but I don't think that was the requirement. Otherwise, they would have took it away from all the other modes.
Okay.
Unless that was only for FSD.
I thought it was for FSD.
Well, then screw that government worker.
Oh man,
It sounds like a Muskian move, though. Here's an option. Oh, you don't want it? Have it anyway.
Well, speaking of gray clouds, as mentioned on your drives, the first story kind of touches on that. Not really gray clouds, but the color. We've got ourselves a new color that's come to the U.S. First one in a long time. Quicksilver has now been introduced. And I understand that the Quicksilver, in theory, well, this is not proven yet, but the Quicksilver, the thought is that it's going to be produced at Giga Texas with a newer paint shop.
Oh.
But that, of course, we believe that there's going to be multiple quotes for the Quicksilver, a few at least. But it hasn't been confirmed yet. Now, we have seen Quicksilver Model Ys at Giga Texas in the outbound lane, but no one's actually confirmed that Quicksilver will only be coming from Texas and not from Fremont if ordered in North America. So that's still up in the air, but it is rumored that it only may be coming out of Giga Texas because the updated paint shop. But we will have to wait and see to be confirmed on that.
Yeah, so I just looked here on the West Coast where I am. It's not available. And I don't know if that's because it's not in Fremont yet, or and if it is just coming out of Austin, maybe it's only certain regions that have it available. So if you're in the U.S. and you have it available, tell us where you're at in the chat.
Exactly.
I got stuff gray in design.
That would be very nice to hear. And hello to Derek and JT in the chat room. If you're out there in the chat room, give us a hello. Let us know that you're there. We would appreciate it.
Yeah. So East Coast is also only showing the old stealth gray.
Okay.
So there was a Quicksilver when the 3 first came out in 2018, right?
Yeah. It wasn't called Quicksilver, I believe. It was called something else, but there was a silver available, and of course those are the most rare of the Model 3s.
Okay, good. So it's not the same color, so that those people who have the rare bird will still be able to say their paint is unique.
Exactly.
Who's got a rare color?
At least.
Yep. Rare color.
Rare black metallic, baby.
On to the next story. Get this. FSD was shown to Swedish officials. That happened this week. It was reported in a news story. And the interesting part is that if you thought FSD being displayed to Swedish officials would happen in Germany, you'd be wrong. I'm sorry, in Sweden, you'd be wrong because it happened in Germany. So Swedish officials came to Giga Berlin to have a demonstration of the FSD package, as Tesla is now starting to look at other markets that FSD could be integrated into. And of course, with the changes that we've seen in version 12, the great changes that we've seen, the positive steps forward, obviously Tesla's feeling the exact same way, because now they're starting to discuss with other governments about allowing FSD to be demonstrated in those jurisdictions. So obviously you would not want to have a package that you're not completely confident it's going to, get to the point of autonomous driving in the one country or the two countries now that you've been trying it for quite some time. They now have the belief, obviously, that this is going to move forward. And
I heard you don't like the way we handle jobs, so we're going to show you technology that takes away all the driving jobs.
You always have such a positive spin to put on things, Casey.
It's an IF metal reference.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting that they've been showing it in Germany, and I imagine that other European countries may take a gander at this as well as time goes along. So look for more of this as time moves along.
Got a better take on this. Hey, I heard you guys have socialized medicine, and the traffic accidents and collisions and negligence is expensive for you. It costs lives. How would you like us to reduce that for you?
That's a good point. If you
cut down on those expenses, yeah. So that
will take this with one simple trick, save millions on healthcare.
Now, ever since last week, about a week and a half ago, when we had heard about Elon announcing that there was going to be an unveiling of a Cybercab on August the 8th, there's been a lot of speculation about what Tesla is actually going to display hardware-wise, software-wise, and whether or not the introduction or the showing of a Cybercab is going to actually lead to the introduction in a jurisdiction or a certain area of the country that allows autonomous vehicles to operate. The speculation in this particular article that we were reviewing here was that is Tesla actually going to unveil the vehicle, the hardware, but also in order to get the service of Cybercab to be out on the road immediately, the ability to allow supervision drivers? Are they going to allow Tesla owners to maybe put their own car on the network and for the first little while, maybe have a human that's behind the wheel that's just there as a safety driver to make sure that the vehicle is going to operate properly and prove that the system can do it over a period of time?
In the beginning, when they first announced all of this Robotaxi stuff, that was kind of a given. Like, hey, they're probably going to do this. And then as time went on, it was like, are they going to do this? And then Elon all but confirmed it on the last shareholder briefing.
So that's going to be very interesting because, of course, Tesla unveiled a couple of pieces of screen shares, software screen shares of their Robotaxi platform, their Cybercab, and it had some demonstrations in it as to what these screens were going to show, what type of information. And again, the fastest way to get this thing off and running certainly would be to not have the regulation required to have a completely autonomous cab. It would be to let a human sit in as a safety driver and operate under certain conditions to make sure that the vehicle is going to operate properly, the software is going to react responsibly, and provide that extra set of eyes that are in each vehicle. I'd be curious as to how many people out there outside of YouTubers looking for clicks would actually perform that service, that would actually allow their vehicle to be clocked on to use for a number of hours, a few hours that they wish it to, and be the safety driver for the initial steps of the Cybercab.
Prior to the child seat, I would do it. And in fact, I did do it on the Uber platform. But I don't know that I would do it again today. And the one thing that really seemed like it could be annoying in the mock-up they gave is the one where you can select the temperature. You're just driving along and all of a sudden you're roasting or freezing. We'll have to wait to pick this dude up, and then it's cold.
Yeah, that could definitely be a problem, allowing the passenger to roast you or freeze you, depending on what their whim is at that time.
It would be great for a robotaxi, but I don't know if you set it for just the passenger seats in the supervised version. That's fine, but
Yeah,
if you set
that
it for,
would make
like
sense.
the whole car, that's gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a connection to those. Maybe they will be heated and cooled seats in the Robotaxi. So you could allow the passenger just to play with the seat temperature, make it hotter or cooler, depending on what they want. And then you're not affecting the rest of the car or the passenger beside you, if that's the case.
Oh,
So,
I mean, all the cars that they sell today have heated and cooled seats.
so it makes sense to allow them to do that. But I think that outside of, people trying it for the first time or are curious as to how it works, I think the number of people taking them up on that offer to be a safety driver, in effect, would be rather low. And I think they would have an issue possibly in getting a number of vehicles on the road in certain areas that it's under high demand.
It's going to depend on how much they pay and how much they charge for whether or not they have enough customers and whether they have enough drivers after the novelty wears off.
Right.
It's also going to depend on how much they pay the employees, because you know that they're going to have to supplement it with their own employees. So if you can just go work for them and make even more, then why would you do it as a freelancer?
Yeah. I guess the freelancer positive is they can select their own hours that they want to do it.
You don't have to work on Elon time.
Exactly.
You're only working 90 hours, you lazy bum. What are you doing for the mission?
If you don't have FSD and you join this network, would your car have FSD for this purpose?
I would agree that it should, at least while you're doing that, but I think that they should treat you like an employee and let you use it as long as, well, employees get to keep it afterwards, but let you use it as long as you are enrolled in the program and have done a minimum number of offers of rides per month. Whether or not you actually do the rides could depend on if there's customer base in your area.
Well, that's an interesting enticement that you would get to keep it even when you're outside of the network if you've done a certain number of rides that month.
I'll make sure
that would compel people to be logged on to the system, right? And be part of the network at certain times. So
you were only in for 70 hours last month.
I thought you were going to say you were only in for 70 hours yesterday.
Oh, last week, yes. No. They're going to have to understand that the contractors won't necessarily be able to be compelled to be as all in as an employee.
Yeah, they're going to have to roll it out city by city so that they can make sure they have critical mass.
Yeah, selecting a region or city certainly makes sense to start with, and then
the only way I can see them going mass on this is if they resell it through somebody like Uber or Lyft, and it's just another option that shows up till they get the quantity they need, and that way it just only shows up in their menu, but the customer can still get a ride. But at the same time, I don't see those two allowing this without extra fees, because then once you do reach mass in their towns, then that customer's gone.
Right. Why would they help enable a competitor?
For money.
Until they're ready to cut them out, because the other amount of people have started to flow in. So I can see that. I could definitely see that, because they're going to hold all the cards, right? Like they have the ability to tilt the table at any point based on what they're seeing in their data. So, speaking of data, CyberTruck team has compiled some data about the truck itself and where it gets its parts, and it was confirmed that CyberTruck is the most North American truck built in North America.
Who didn't see that coming?
We had some actual information with this article indicating that 90% of the truck parts are actually sourced within North America. Of that 90%, 65% are sourced within the US and Canada. So that leaves 25% to Mexico.
Sorry, wrong one. I was hoping for a drum roll.
So, it allows you to see that the company is actually sourcing locally or trying to source locally based on the parts they can receive.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the 25% from Mexico was a little bit surprising. I thought that was a little bit high, but with the onslaught of new plants in Mexico, obviously parts are being produced there as well, and it makes sense that Tesla's getting parts from all over, including Mexico. So not a big surprise, I guess, in that light, that we've seen all of these different suppliers setting up shop beside others in Monterrey and other cities around Mexico. So it's but again, that results in North American jobs too. So we've got 90% that's being used, and that certainly helps the workers of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So I think that's a plus. Obviously, we'd like to see our countries have higher employment rates, and this, of course, helps towards that. So that is good news. What did you guys think? Is 90% a little bit surprising in the amount?
No,
it is. Yeah, there's always this perception around Tesla that they're not an American company, which is just so wrong.
Oh, we know where that comes from, yeah.
and it's because Luddite thinking of American company means Ford or Chevy or GM, I mean, and that's just so having data like this, because you're going to hear things, especially from other truck guys that say, oh, that's not an American truck. And you can, it's not only an American truck, it's the most American truck. Yeah.
Or Scout. But we're not talking about a foreign brand with an American plant. We're talking about an American brand with an American plant.
Exactly.
Right. A couple American plants, I should say. Three. Three big ones, and all the ancillary like parts and die and everything.
And powered by American electricity, not some Ford oil.
Right. American electricity mined in America from American skies.
Exactly. So, well, that's great news. Hopefully, we can see an uptick on all Tesla vehicles in that direction as Giga Texas, of course, moves to add new lines as either the CyberTaxi or some sort of Model Next is starting to be produced. We, of course, have heard more about the Model Next, about them trying to push forward the date that it's going to be made available. But there's this gray zone as to, are they really talking about the Model Next as we refer to it, or are they talking about the Cybercab, or is there a combination? Because we had heard, of course, previously that the team at Tesla had convinced Elon that they can make both cars on the same line and give them the versatility to move to one or the other. But of course, with the last earnings call, as we had mentioned, Elon was really pushing on autonomy is the kingpin, and they've been really zeroing in on that in their corporate speak over time, since of course the last quarter. But
speaking of American trucks, I saw 3 to 5 car carriers with CyberTruck on it headed south on 95 when I was headed north, and one full of brand new Model 3s, all one color, the dark gray, and then a bunch of Model Ys mixed in with all of those, except for the exclusive carload of new Model 3s.
Where were you on 95 roughly? What city?
I was in Georgia, and I hadn't yet reached Kingsland, so.
Okay.
But
yeah.
in Florida.
So, and actually, if you were in Georgia, would that be a straight shot from there over to Texas? If you were to take an interstate, or is it a little bit north?
And 95 kind of goes south. So
yeah, but I mean, if they were coming from Giga Texas,
did they like take a
they'd have to come along Louisiana, New Orleans, past that into the panhandle of Florida. Typically, if they were going, they wouldn't really go north and then go south.
Right, I was definitely nowhere near the panhandle because I was coming from central to eastern to north.
Kind of strange that they were heading south, although they could have been only
in Miami
a short time too. Yeah. Okay. Another story of interest that we wanted to touch upon today was CyberTruck is actually getting now a 24-city preview in European cities. So they have indicated that they're going to display the CyberTruck at multiple stops in Europe. And of course, this is not really a European car based on its size, but there is a tremendous amount of interest in markets that cannot have it or have not been announced they're going to get it. The pickup truck phenomenon is typically for North American shores. It's also the pickup truck is used in Australia quite a bit, but
not do 1,000 miles at a shot while fording 12-foot rivers and across the farms and on unpaved roads and in a solar blackout and whatever the Australian farmers always tell me online.
But it's interesting that Europe has not adopted the pickup nearly as much as Australia, and of course North America, where the pickup is king. So not sure why that is, but with this 24-city viewing, it's going to satisfy a number of people that have interest in it and maybe calling for the truck. Like they want it. They've seen the advertising, they've seen the push out here in North America, and they want the truck. So Tesla's at least going to let them see it in person as it starts to roll through these stops in Europe. I'd be interested to see in the comments of anyone that's outside of North America if Tesla would allow it. Would the Cybertruck even interest you? Is that something that would be in your wheelhouse if it was available to be had in your city? Be interested to hear that.
What did we find out? It was Norway or it was somewhere that wasn't Norway that they got it.
That got it
not actually active now, but like that they talked about rolling it out.
I'm not sure, like a Norwegian country.
It's got to be Norway. It's the only one that makes sense.
Okay.
Given their mix over there is like all EVs, like 90%.
That would make sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's certainly some places where trucks have not been popular because fuel's expensive. Well, switching to electricity kind of changes that. So this could actually end up being a change into the, I don't know what you would call it, like the demographics of where trucks live.
Right.
I was thinking of the Lightning.
Yeah, it certainly would. It certainly would if you took fuel out of the equation, the cost of it, because we know in European cities, fuel is like, equivalent $8, $9, $10 a gallon. So certainly that would make a lot more sense if it wasn't a fuel guzzling vehicle and you could turn around and sip electricity at a much lower rate. So,
right. Prices go up to $4 a gallon here, and Americans are complaining, and the rest of the world is like, shut up.
Yeah.
Although anybody paying for their own hydrogen right now is looking at all of these prices and be like, man, that is so cheap.
Yeah. The hydrogen model is not economically feasible in my eyes, anyways. But
not on a personal level yet.
Now, here's an interesting story about overseas as well. Elon was supposed to have a meeting in India this past week, and that was delayed, put on the back burner. And instead, Elon the next day jetted off to China, where he had some meetings with some officials. One official was the one that actually eventually signed off on Giga Shanghai. And this little discussion apparently was all around FSD in China. What could be done? How could Tesla gain regulatory approval to test it and ultimately deploy it in China? And apparently how they came up with a solution was that Tesla is going to be partnering with a Chinese mega firm that is already there. That firm's name is
Baidu.
Baidu. Yep. So it's a giant tech corporation that's been in operation in China forever. And apparently there is the allegation that they have agreed on a deal. And that with this deal, Tesla will be able to move forward. They're going to have to share their information with Baidu. They're going to have to share some of their code, some of their wizardry in the background as to how this works. And I think China was happy to do this in order to leapfrog when it comes to autonomous driving. If Tesla does have the magic way to make this work, they would like to have a piece of it. And it sounds like with this agreement, they will get some insight into it, if not more than that.
That sounds like a classic outside of China, inside of China organization, unlike what we saw with Tesla itself in China, which was dumbfounding. That there was no partner involved in that at all. And now it looks like it's back to business as usual at this point. I do wonder if they can try and say something to the effect of, "Oh, we don't know how it works. It's self-trained." Give us
I have a suspicion that they probably went deep into the weeds in this meeting. But you're right. How much is actually unveiled? How much is shared? How much is protected from maybe copyright? Would be interesting to know, because of course China has had in the past a pretty murky history of being able to avoid world patents and produce products and other services that certainly were not self-taught within their country.
Yeah. Historically, also, any data generated from inside China is not allowed to leave it. So this will also be interesting, how much it will vary from the worldwide versions of the product.
Although with that, Casey, I think that you're right. There may be quite a bit of difference, because Tesla may provide them with a basic package that they say all countries will start with, and then based on the driving that happens in that country and the data that comes back from those countrymen using the package, maybe it just modifies the Chinese package and it doesn't share or provide information to other countries' packages at the same time.
Like the bare models, not even how it works, but just this is how you drive, and then it almost becomes that China's FSD package will just kind of go on its own trajectory based on how it's being used in the country, and really it won't affect any of the other countries that Tesla doesn't have that type of deal in. Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would meet China's data requirements. And if other countries can if Tesla can move data from the US and other places to China to do training, then they can just augment it with the local data until they have enough local data that they don't even need any other data. And there's no reason for the data from China to have to come to the US, because they have plenty of cars here in the US to collect data. And they wouldn't want to train it on special intersections that only exist in China. There's no reason for a car in San Francisco to know how to navigate a Beijing intersection. So yeah, it's probably just from a data logistics, it works out easier if you don't have to move it, and it applies regionally. So that's the good combo. I don't know if they're going to build their own data center for training, or if they're going to, if that's part of the partnership with Baidu, or if the Baidu, they mentioned maps, but you need
Baidu already do their maps.
Once you're already collecting this data, you're going to need to do some training with it, and that's going to require some significant horsepower.
Yeah.
All the cars that are running through the factory are the fleet.
Yeah, I don't think they can do training on their own data yet.
No.
What they must call it, the AWS of Tesla.
That's right. Yeah, it'll be their own data center on wheels. But yeah, I certainly believe that Tesla would have the inroads now in China to really demand any resources they require, data-wise, horsepower-wise, for computer systems to get something put in place for them.
But would they be as effective as what Tesla's used to right now with the export controls we've got?
They will not be. It'll be a different learning experience for them, and of course, I'm sure Tesla has learned a lot of lessons operating in China at this point. But it's a lot different operating with a even partner than it is than operating on yourself. So this will be a big change for them and what they can do and not do based on Baidu and their input into how things need to be run as far as they see it.
Will this go better or worse than when they worked with Toyota a couple times?
Oh, right. Good question.
There was a lot of culture clash there.
Yeah, definitely.
Another culture.
Right. So that was more of a joint product, where I think this is more about data sharing. So I'm hoping that they don't collide as bad as the Toyota culture did. Yeah, they were grinding gears hard.
I can definitely see issues, but again, not sure how difficult it will be. But there certainly will be hurdles ahead. Is how high those hurdles will be, I guess, is the question.
Right.
Yes. Next, back to Australia, and we've got a story here that indicates that the large BESS, which stands for Battery Electric Storage System, is now being increased. We had the story, actually, South Australia was the first jurisdiction to take Tesla up on an offer that they couldn't refuse based on having delivery of Megapacks to be able to store wind energy from Elon with a guaranteed setup date and time. Otherwise, they were free. So absolutely, they jumped all over that, and they were able to quickly recoup their money because, of course, with this battery pack, they were now able to sell and buy electricity, put them into the battery packs that they had there in microseconds, compared to running peaker plants and trying to fire things up and store energy. This would allow them to transfer information at the snap of a finger, and allowed them to take advantage of energy markets in Australia, which fluctuate greatly because the Australian power grid is so fractured, and it has some glaring issues with supply and demand. And with those up and down roller coaster pricing, the Megapacks were able to take advantage of it, and the quick software to be able to buy and sell, where in some cases this utility was able to buy energy at a loss. They were actually getting paid to take the energy because there was so much of it that was polluting up the grid. They needed to get it off the grid. They were actually paying them to put it inside their batteries.
That would be nice.
And then later on, 12 hours later, when demand was, they were getting a few bucks a kilowatt for energy that they were expelling out of their batteries onto the power grid. Yeah. So nothing like getting paid to receive it and then paid greatly to sell it later.
The latest in methane technology. We can respond in 10 seconds to grid demands. Oh yeah? How does 10 nanoseconds sound?
Right. Yeah. Auto bidder for the win. That is awesome.
Exactly. So this story was about an increase in a current BESS system where Megapacks will now push the total capacity of the system to 560 megawatts and 2,240 megawatt hours. So this company, Neon Securities, they're under contract to expand the Collie BESS with these Megapacks. So again, Australia is leading the charge here because, of course, they've been involved with it now for coming up on 5 years. They've had the experience. These companies, these utilities that got involved with the first one, had rapidly seen that this is just printing money for us. You know, we were able to recoup the cost of those first Megapacks in under 2 years. So doubling the size of it in a year and a half later made perfect sense because, of course, they had almost paid it off. So they doubled up their ante, and now here we are in 2024, and they're upping the ante again and adding more again. So obviously they found a business model that completely works. I'm sure they're not getting the same deal as they got before on the Megapacks, but still it has proven itself, and Australia is off and running, and probably one of the countries that has the most Megapacks in it based on their experience.
If the Megapack is set up to handle black start, because Texas could really use that help.
Texas should have all the help they need if they ask for it, that is.
And for those who don't understand, black start is when things have just gone so far off a plan that the grid has shut itself down, and now you have to start yourself up from no power. And remember that power plants actually import their power that they use to start themselves back up. So that makes it really difficult. And,
well, keep in mind that Texas runs their own grid, right? The ECOT grid, and that grid is sectioned off from the rest of the country. So I guess the rest of the country would be required to send them energy. And of course, if you're paying enough, the rest of the country would be happy to supply them if they had it. So,
but they only have a limited amount of connections that can be traversed for that, because
that's true.
The way they structure themselves as a separate grid.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so congratulations, Australia, and keep leading a charge. More and more countries have got to be looking at the white papers that Australia has produced, and hopefully that's just going to lead more into looking at Megapacks as a way of storing energy. Another side note: Tesla was going to start the building of a Megapack factory in Shanghai. So the land has been allocated, and the construction apparently is beginning now. So obviously China will have a benefit of this to be able to supply the large cities and be able to reduce, again, peaker power plant emissions by putting strategic packs of Megapacks across the country.
Yeah, the one that this always reminds me of is where the Australian reporter was asking Elon, what do you say to these families trying to decide between food and air conditioning? And he started crying, and he says, "We'll work harder." Yeah, that was the end of the clip. But every time the project reminds me of that.
Well, it was remarkable. If you've watched some information on electricity happening, fluctuation rates in Australia, it's wildly expensive at some points, especially to the end consumer. So, yeah,
I wonder what the uptime of the grid has been in South Australia, because before they got their first Megapack, it was pretty bad. They had a lot of outages. And we've talked about it before. If you're, somebody with a CPAP machine or another medically required device, being without power is a big deal. So, if they have a much more reliable grid on top of reduction in prices, this is all good stuff.
Yep.
Next, Casey's got a little bit of an update for us. What has been happening with you, sir?
What have I been up to? Well, let's start with the screen share. Share screen. As I've been talking about, I made some trips, and one of the first things that happened on my trip was the middle things that happened on my trip was I got a FSD version 12.3.5, but because I was towing, I couldn't use it, so I didn't bother to install it till I got home that night, and. Now my car has been downloading 12.3.6 for hours. I don't know why it's taking so long, but So I may not even actually drive 12.3.5 to tell you about it. But what happened was I won a bid on a cargo trailer.
Oh, so you were towing this?
I was towing this. If you can't tell, it's bigger than the Model X.
That's not a tiny trailer.
Yeah.
That's not an aerodynamic trailer either.
That is a brick on wheels.
So every 90 miles or so, I had to stop and supercharge.
Wow.
I think that's just the headwind, though, because it's not a very heavy trailer. It's 1,900 pounds. And I looked it up, and the U-Haul 6x12s I usually run around the country, they weigh 1,902 pounds. So, but they're also a lot shorter. They're more the size of the Model X rather than making it look small.
Exactly. So how did you fare at these multiple supercharger stops when it came to availability to plug in and not detach your trailer?
So that was fun. One of the stops we had was one of the original I-95 superchargers, Kingsland, Georgia, and that's, if you're not aware, that's a police station by day and by night, and a visitor center by day, and it's also still a V2. It got upgraded from V1 to V2, and then it got upgraded not to the full 150, I don't think. I think to 135. And so that means you have to do the every other stall if you don't want to be there all day. And so that one I had to drop the trailer, which I would not have been able to do with the U-Haul, just because they don't have legs. And it came off nicely. It took me less than 5 minutes to unload and reload it, and popped right in there, and it was fine. There was one station in Orlando that had 18 V3s, and I took 8 of them. And I wasn't being a jerk. Like if person 11 had showed up, we would have moved, but they didn't. So we just stayed there. And another one, I forget what town it's in, but it's at a bowling alley. I've got a video of it for MrSupercharger.com's work. It has 2 pull-in stalls like this for the trailers, and they're not in the path like this one is. This one that looks bad. That's the reason I took 2 pictures, because I wasn't blocking traffic. They could get around me. It had 2 of them, and they were just way out of the way. And so I pulled into the first one, and then this lady in a Model S comes sliding on in, like, "Ooh, this is for me." She sees the giant trailer and the Model X pulling it, and she slides up, pops in, and then gets back in her car. It's like they've had the reverse camera since 2012. They're large reverse cameras. There's no excuse for this. Thankfully, she didn't pull into the disabled access, handicapped, however you want to call it. Use this last. She didn't use that stall. And like 2 minutes after she pulled up, a Model Y with like 5 bikes hanging off the back shows up, and this lady, she had to unload her bikes so she could charge because the bikes were interfering with the supercharger cabinet. Not the cabinet, but the pedestal. And that means that if you can't get close enough, you can't connect the cable.
Right.
And these stalls with the pull-in is not so that you don't have to back up. It's designed for people who have something attached to the back of their vehicle to be able to use the facilities. That's right.
And before we get angry letters, of course, Casey had indicated he's blocking a number of stalls, but of course he's in the vehicle. He hasn't left his vehicle. He's watching for others that would be required to move, and he would have moved, I imagine, if the stalls were filled up.
And in the case of the U-Hauls, it's not a matter of can drop the trailer, but I would still move or shuffle with the other folks there, and we've done that. I taught a story about forget the name all of a sudden, but they have a Texas Roadhouse there, and there's a coupon sign that says "Bring your key, and we'll give you a discount on a steak." And so that one we shuffled like 4 times so that everybody could get in and out with me and the U-Haul. And it's just a matter of just caring a little bit about your fellow travelers.
Right.
So after this is finished, being a cargo trailer, so we've got a couple trips to make to get stuff shuffled around in storage. We're going to start a project called HV Nomad, high voltage Nomad. And what I'm going to do is my wife and I are going to convert this into, I'm pointing over where the picture actually is on my screen. Convert this into a off-grid camping trailer, and we're going to take Monaco around the country and show her the 48 contiguous states.
Wow!
Maybe Canada, maybe Mexico. We'll see. Yeah,
that is ambitious. So you're gonna be doing a modification of the trailer, so it's a live-in trailer. and be able to tow your mobile home across the different states.
It'll be a mobile home, and we'll see how we want to structure the trips. But we're gonna remove all the wood that's because these things are wood paneled on the inside. Remove all the wood. We put insulation. Either put that wood back or put a different liner in there. It does have a vent on the top, but it's unpowered, so I don't know if I'm going to just seal it up, remove it, or what. We've already got a air conditioner coming in that's a heat pump, so that way it can make air and hot air, which would be nice in the wintertime.
And of course, you got a little room on the top for your power, right? You've got a ton of room for solar panels.
Yeah, it's a 7.5 wide by 16 feet long. That's not counting the triangle tip of the V. That's just its square cube dimensions, and it only weighs 1,900 pounds. Can hold 7,000 pounds. The Model X can only tow 5,000 pounds. So if we were to go beyond the 5,000, we would have to switch to something like a Rivian or a Lightning or something angular. And I think that would actually match with this color scheme. We've got the silver and the dark gray. And then the Cybertruck is already silver and dark gray. Don't tell me that's not a good match.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, definitely a good match. Are you going to make it aerodynamic at all?
Not really.
No? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could. Well, I'm going to put something in front of the panels, and maybe we could put something in front of the fenders. I'm not sure what else we could actually do to it.
I noticed that some of those trailers tend to put a kind of a pointed nose on the front of the trailer, but I'm not sure if that really helps with. You would think it would, but you never know.
Well, it's got to be better than the flat nose, and this one's got an angle to it. It comes to a T right at the hitch, right behind the Model X there.
Yeah, Derek is shouting nose cone. So
nose cone. Yeah, make sure the axles are lubed too.
Yeah, I gotta double check on them because the guy bought it, used it 3 times, and then let it sit in his yard. So the tires were at 25 psi, and so the first thing I did before moving it an inch was I pushed them all up to 50, which was what it said on the label and the tire, and also what it said for my Model X. So just one setting.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, we will certainly be interested to see how this project goes along, and of course, getting updates from you and your new channel will be interesting to watch. So,
I'll be on the same channel. It'll just be like a segment.
Okay.
It's gonna be kind of piecemeal. Like as I said, we got to do 2 moving trips in it at least, maybe 3, and then it'll be kind of like as I get the money to do this, that, or the other. But I've got a sponsorship proposal that Patrick has seen, and I will be shopping for anybody who wants to help us go any faster. So if you happen to know any components manufacturers or anybody who's looking for something that's not too in your face, maybe we could put it on the side of the trailer and work something out with them. So
very good.
Send them my way. Send me their way.
Well, we'll be happy to share this with anybody that's accessing our channel, and of course we'll be peppering you with questions as you start through the conversion. Very good. Congratulations.
And new folks will understand why you're asking me where I am this week.
Exactly. Exactly. We'll have an on-the-road correspondent part-time as well. That would be great.
Definitely.
Next, Patrick is going to talk a little bit about our favorite sub company that is kind of connected to Tesla. What's that about, Patrick?
That's right. So our future free from fossil fuels is going to require a lot of batteries. And what is the best place to get battery materials? Is it mining new stuff? No, it's old batteries. And so for Earth Day, Redwood Materials and the Rotary Club have collaborated to collect batteries. And they have a nice video here where they talk about all the benefits of doing this. This was the Bellevue Rotary Club in Washington. So not too far from me, just a little to the north. And one of the reasons that this came up is our club, somebody has an old EV that the batteries are dead, and they were asking where to recycle them. And so I was looking around for places, And redwoodmaterials.com/recycle-with-us is the place to go to find where the drop-off spots are for redwood. And there's actually a lot of them. And there's one not too far from where I live, and it's a VW dealership. But they've partnered with Redwood, and they have a Redwood drop box there. And so if you are in the greater Beaverton area, you can go to Herzog Meyer Volkswagen and drop off your batteries, whatever they are. They don't even have to be EV batteries. If it's something from your phone, a laptop, batteries from any rechargeable batteries. I don't know if they take alkali batteries or not, but the nice thing about this is, so if your battery's dead, let's just say it's 5 years old, the technology has advanced. And so that material is refined now. It's going to come out even better because the refining methods are better. Plus, it's not some raw ore. It's already been refined once. So you get a higher quality material out of it. It's battery grade. And then it gets used and built and assembled in a way that's 5, 6, 7% more efficient than it had in its first life. So it's the nice thing about this, the reduce, reuse, recycle, the closed loop. We want to get to a spot where we have a closed loop, and there's two things that are required for that, and that's for the old stuff to go back into the system. What's that, Casey?
We're there with lead, 97, 98% recycled.
Right. Yes. Lead acid batteries are one of the highest percentage of recycled things that we have. It's better than paper, better than glass, way better than plastic. So batteries, because they still have value at the end of their life, they're absolutely worth recycling. And with lead, it's especially important because that's the toxic material. The modern lithium-ion batteries don't have lead. They're not toxic. But there's still plenty of other reasons besides not putting toxic stuff into your environment that recycling them is the right thing to do. And we were just talking about how there's these giant batteries going to Australia. Well, it'd be nice when we get to a point where those batteries are going back in the system and being made into batteries that are twice as big or twice as much energy density or whatever the capacity. So that's just the way to go. And I thought this was a cool thing that was happening here in Bellevue, Washington, and wanted to get that word out.
Definitely. But it's not just the process and the technology improvements. Literally, if you take the same steps, step by step with raw ore and the battery ore mining, the battery sourced battery will be better than the modern, everything's the same than the modern raw. So, I don't know, what they say, 5%, 7%? It's incredible. It's just something about the way the molecular structure is after it's already been a battery.
Well, and also of course, the battery that you're returning has already been through the refinement process once, right? It came from raw ore and then was turned into these multiple chemicals and compounds and put together as a battery. If you're able to pull that out of the battery canister after its useful life is over, and what we understand is that they can be refreshed and those can be recharged and put into new batteries, but with missing a number of the steps that have to happen with a raw ore battery. These steps save time, save material, save cost, and on top of it, they're more refined when you begin the process.
Right, because any impurities in there, that's what causes degradation and dendrites and other things that degrade the batteries over time. So if you have something that's been refined twice, it's obviously going to perform better than something that's been refined once.
Extra virgin olive oil.
Exactly. Exactly. And this and the other great thing about Redwood and some of these other battery recyclers is that they're not just looking for car batteries. They're looking for the batteries that are sitting in your desk drawer at work, in your office at home, that in the laptop that you haven't looked at in 5 years because you've moved on to a newer laptop. Find a drop-off zone for those batteries and return the lithium-ion batteries that are in that laptop to a recycler. It'll make you feel good because, of course, you're not contributing to a landfill. Mm-hmm. You're actually sending it off to be recycled into other batteries that could benefit the world as time goes along. Because, as Patrick mentioned, if we get into a closed loop system, then we're just using the resources we've already mined over and over and over again. Obviously, we're not there yet, and we won't be there anytime in the next couple of years. But as we start to get into this recycling of these batteries, it just gets better every year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as I've covered on some of our chats on Sundays, there's companies out there that can do this with solar cells and glass from the screens. But these battery companies, like Redwood, they actually have such an advanced process. They're able to get the trace gold and tin and all that stuff out of these materials, rather than just taking the battery and then letting the rest go into landfill. So,
Patrick, what's that web address once again, where you can find out if there's a drop box near you?
Yes, search for Redwood Materials Recycle with Us. It's redwoodmaterials.com/recycle with us, with dashes in between recycle with and us.
Very good. Very good. Well, with that, I think we will wrap the program for this week. Let's go with some shout outs. Casey, what do you got for us?
So on Sundays at 1:10 Eastern, we do a live show called Let's Chat with Casey and Friends. And you never know who's going to show up. And we talk about, like this show, but also, we just kind of spread it out a little bit more, talk about other manufacturers, more than my little chiming ins. And we also talk about things like solar cells and space travel and fuel efficiency, just whatever is out there to chat about for the week. So I'd like to see you there at 1:10 Eastern at youtube.com/CaseyGreen or x.com/gcustom.
Very good. Patrick, what do you got for us?
Well, we had our Earth Day event, our Earth Month Drive electric event on Sunday, and it was well attended. We got coverage by the local news. We had a Cybertruck there, and we used the Cybertruck to charge up a 1914 Detroit Electric.
Oh, that was your photo. I have that there on my x.com.
Yeah, so these things have 110 years between them in the technology space, and yet it's that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So and then that's from the OEVA. You can check them out at oeva.org. And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels.
Very good, very good. So glad to hear the event went off well on Sunday, and yeah, that's a unique photo. Charging us a Detroit. What was it? What was the year?
1914, I believe.
1914. Wow, there's the photo for you.
Oh,
very
cool. Got that. Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. So just a couple years between those two models of electric vehicle.
Mm-hmm. The batteries might have been upgraded. I'm just getting, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Charger. The new ones are safer.
That is awesome. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the show. Press that subscribe button. It helps us out immensely. It doesn't cost you anything, and helps get our show in front of new eyes, helps smaller shows like us. So we would really appreciate that publicity. Press the thumbs up, press the subscribe, and we'll get together next time and discuss what's happening in the Tesla life.
We'll see you Friday for Tesla Life Express at same time, same place.
Stay positive. Test negative.
Thank you, Lee Moon, for this music.